Yeah, Kelvin, you got the freshmen in early. They played a lot. Just
Yeah.
thoughts on them and sort of that development that you've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, this game tonight, I think for both teams, whoever you play after a game like that, your biggest concern is getting your energy level back up. It's kind of like after we played Arizona in the tournament, having to play Villanova. It was a quick turnaround. It's hard to do. Where it affects you most is your legs, because these kids play so hard. You know, but I made a conscious effort though. Our first big off the bench was JVA, and our first guard was Emmanuel. The young guy's biggest is just coming there, calming down and not turning the ball over. Terrence and Emmanuel had 7 turnovers, but they turned over in practice too. you Whereas as a team, I think we're averaging around 9. Our older guys, young guys, turn it over. That's don't overreact to it. They're going to do it again. So, but eventually they won't, because they'll get experience. Figure it out. Jamal was a turnover machine his first month of practice, his first game. I remember the best pass he threw all year was to Dexter Dennis on a break against Wichita State at home. It's one of the 5 worst passes in the history of the game. I mean, great pass to Dexter, but Dexter was on the other team. But that's freshmen. They're just not comfortable yet. Takes them a while. JVA, even though we didn't redshirt him last year, he got to play in a lot of blowouts. He got 4 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there. That helped him, and there's such a misconception with the transfer portal, with common fans, for instance. They think that, who are we going to get in the transfer portal? We like the guys we have. You don't always have to go get somebody in the transfer portal. We saw all the big guys that was available. We like JVA. Now, some people may not have, but they didn't know him. They're fans. They don't know what they don't know. But this kid's going to be good. And he's just keeps getting better in practice. His confidence is growing. Now, you can see his inexperience in certain things. When he gets tired, he's got a little bit of the baby giraffe thing to him. But he's on a team with kids that believe in him. He's got great teammates. He's a great teammate. So, if you get double figure, there's 3 levels you can sign the bubble. So, JVA, how many rebounds you have, JVA? 15? Ooh, 7 offensive. Pretty good, big man. I didn't realize you had 7 offensive. Huh. You looking for playing time or something? But he signed a bubble tonight. Was that your first time? Mm-hmm. How many times you done it?
Like 3 or 4.
Since you won this year?
Mm-hmm.
My bad. My bad, Wilt Chamberlain. So he's just got to keep coming. So you keep developing and being able to rest a lot of these guys and let these other guys play, man. They need to play. The more minutes, the better.
JVA, on that topic, like Coach alluded to, you were the first forward off the bench that entered today's game.
Not a forward. He's a center.
First center off the bench.
First big man.
First big man, got it. Off the bench, and you just talked about really the what does that say for you from a confidence standpoint? That coach has that trust in you to be that first big man off the bench, and then also once you're in the game and you start getting rebounds, is it kind of like, are you locked in on just getting rebounds, or what's your mindset in that aspect?
It tells me a lot, that I know he has confidence in me, that he wants to see me grow, and that's why he leave me out there. And I know my job out there is to get rebounds, defend, pick and rolls, and so that's every time I go out the floor, every time I go on the floor, that's my main goal is just to rebound and stop the ball, and I just let everything else just come.
Kelvin, starting JVA and Emmanuel in the second half, was that more about getting them more time, or what was?
Probably. Just rewarding them too. They went in and a little more aggressive. I just don't ever get caught up on who starts and who doesn't. I don't even know why people worry about that. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're on a team. Really, the only people that matters to is the mamas and daddies and cousins and uncles. I don't care. And if I don't care, the players don't care. Does it matter to you that you start? Well, good. You're not going to start. It's just the way it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. Who didn't start? Who did I start in this of J1 and Tremont? Didn't matter to them.
We'll go to Josh here for the question. Yeah, Marcus, just as one of the older guys on the team, what are nights like tonight like for you, just to kind of see some of these younger guys really thrive out there?
I feel like it's a good thing for them to go out there and get experience. I feel like you can't really duplicate that in practice or nothing like that, because practice is way different from a game. So it was real good seeing them, all the hard work they be putting in, and everything they do in practice pay off, against another team. Like Jay, we see that a lot in practice, him rebounding and, just being dominant. And, for him to do it out there in the game, I feel like it's just going to build and give him confidence. So, when he do get in against the big games, he'll have the same confidence and could help us.
Coach, defensively, how much improvement has JV made?
A lot, but he's really worked at it. Javier is such a great kid. I mean, he really is he's a high character kid. Works his tail off. Comes from an unbelievable family. That's important. Their character matters, man. He's he's one of those yes sir, no sir kids that the more you get on him, he just takes it and keeps going. His motor's gotten so much better. When he got here, he played hard, but he didn't know how to compete. The thing about rebounding is when the ball hits the rim, it becomes a competition. Like the first 10 minutes against Alabama, they were out competing us on the boards. But from the 10 minutes on, I think we out-rebounded them for the next 30 minutes because we out-competed them. It's a competition. Everything's a competition in basketball. We had but Terrence is not there yet, but he's a freshman. I look around at the country at all these freshmen. I wish I could consult with their families and tell them to leave them alone. Let them fail. Let them get through their adversity. Don't try to save them or help them. Let them have it. It's good for them. It's so good for them. But there's so many parachutes out there. Sometimes you don't need to parachute because they're going to get it. They're going to fail at some point. I think the earlier the better. JVA sat on the bench last year. People forget Jamal Shedd sat on the bench. Terrence Arsenault is getting to play way more than Jamal Shedd did. But the problem, here's the biggest problem with these kids, is what other people are saying that have no idea what they're talking about. It's like Terrence had that great game against Oregon, right? So what do you think people were saying after that? What do you think? Really? Oregon didn't guard him. They played a zone. There was nobody within 10 feet of him every shot he took. Now, this team guarded him tonight. Look what he did. He turned it over 4 times. There's a lot of difference playing against a zone with no pressure versus somebody up into you. Terrence isn't very good against pressure right now. So is he ready for being a pro? Of course not. But the problem is everybody thinks he is. So now you're facing these expectations. And Terrence knows he's not. And I wish people would quit writing that stuff. It's growth. You got to grow. I remember when this one here was a freshman. he was playing with some really good players. But what year in school is he? What year is this for Marcus? I'm asking you guys questions now. I mean, you asked me, I answer yours, right? Well, you got to answer mine. What year is Marcus? Okay, come on, snap up, fellas. Wake up now. What year is Marcus? Okay, Andy, did you answer? Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, senior, 4th year. Okay, 4th year. How good was he in his freshman year? Pretty good, but nothing special. Okay, well, look at what year is Terrence? Yeah. I was watching Memphis play the other day. Memphis is going from having the youngest team, the oldest team in college basketball. They're really good. I mean, they're really good. But they have older players. I mean, they're really good. The older you are in basketball, the better. I keep going back to the year we went to the Final Four when Kentucky and Duke had those great recruiting classes. Well, neither one of them made the tournament because they had a bunch of Terrences. They had a bunch of Jarrises. You're not going to win with them dudes. You're just not. But everybody thinks you should because of where people do what? Come on, follow me now. They rate them. So if they're pros, they got to be really good. No, they're not. They're going to be good 5 years from now. And the NBA don't care how good they are now. They just care how good they think they can be 5 years from now. So what they're going through now is failure. So don't be disappointed in them. Don't act like they did something wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. They're 19 years old. If I was in the last year of my contract and I had to start 5 Terrences, I would get the for sale sign up. Because I get fired. You're going to get fired playing those dudes against the schedule we play because you're going to lose. They're not ready to help you win yet. But everybody says, yeah, but so-and-so said he's going to be projected to be here in the draft. He must. What's wrong with him? There's nothing wrong with Terrence. He is a freshman on a top 10 team in the nation. Think about all the teams he played last year at Beaumont United. How many of them teams are on our schedule? Did he look good against last year? How many of them do we play? Nobody. Those kids out there tonight. The Watson kid, number 4, would have been a starter at Oklahoma State. He's a top 50 high school player in the nation. The transfer portal has screwed up what transparency is now. Transparency is if you're in this conference, you're not very good. Well, take that out now. Everybody's got good transfers. The portal has changed the way college basketball, the perception of college basketball, you know. But I feel bad for a lot of these kids at some of these schools that people think should be one and done, you know. If Jarris Walker was to stay here 3 years, when he came out, he would be a monster. A monster. Because he'd be 2 years older than he is now. He'd have 30-some games this year, 30-some games next year, and then he's looking at his 3rd year. You know how good he'd be? Well, this year, a lot of people say, I thought he'd be better. I didn't think he'd be better. He's exactly what I thought he'd be. He is a freshman. Marcus is our best player. Our second best player is probably Jamal. It's not Terrence, it's not Jarris. Next year they might be, but everybody's trying to push all these. I'm not just talking Terrence and Jarris. I'm talking about all the schools. You know, everybody sets these kids up for failure. Fans set them up for failure because they get disappointed because they're not better. They are what they are. You know, just remember, and nothing against those kids at Duke and Kentucky. I don't even remember who they were. And that's part of the issue. Who were they? They left after 1 year. They left after 1 year. And 2 or 3 years later, you know, bouncing between the G League and sitting on the bench, G League sitting on the bench. Eventually, you know, when they're 25, 26, 24, they'll start getting some traction and become pretty good players, right? But it's not going to be anytime soon. Just because you get drafted doesn't mean you're ready. There's a difference in being a professional basketball player and playing. You know, these kids aren't going to play. They weren't impacting college, and they're not going to impact the NBA. The Spurs, San Antonio Spurs drafted a kid, Primo. I think that was his name, from Alabama. I didn't even remember him, but they took him because 4 or 5 years later they thought they could develop him. Peyton Watson, I remember watching him in the summer in our evaluation camps from UCLA. Anybody ever heard of Peyton Watson? He averaged 4 points a game. He was a first-round draft choice last year. 30th pick in the NBA draft. Google him. Peyton Watson, the 30th pick in the draft, averaged 4 points at UCLA. And that's what you're having to fight these days. Everybody thinks they're going to get drafted because you don't have to be great anymore. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, the guys that are ready to go is Marcus. Marcus will get drafted after this year, right? Well, who do you think's ready to go in and impact winning for a team? Peyton Pritchard's a great example. You know how long Peyton Pritchard played at Oregon? 4 years. He got to play right away. He helped Boston win a game his rookie year because he's ready. You know, who do you think is more ready to help him win a game, Peyton Watson or Peyton Pritchard? Of course. But this, you know, it comes down to theory versus reality. In theory, this guy's better because he's rated higher. Well, who rated him? Who said so? But you read it, and so now you're repeating what somebody said. Let's research the guy that rated him. What does he know? And those are the things that those are sometimes the silent battles that we have to fight. You know, I have to tell the truth. I don't always tell them what they want to hear, but it's extremely important that I tell them what they need to hear. And sometimes I'm brutally honest. And a lot of times, the first time they've heard the truth is when they got here. Because I don't tell them how great they are. I tell them how hard they've got to work to be great. You're not great, son. You guys saw Terrence out there tonight. You saw Emmanuel. Now, think about 30 games from now. You have any idea how good Terrence is going to be 30 games from now? You know, he's never sat on a bench. He comes off the bench. He sits on that bench for 10 minutes to start the game. He's warmed up. He never came out unless they were up 40, and they were up 40 a lot in high school because he played on a great high school team. All of a sudden now he sits over there for 10 minutes and TV timeout, freshman, he don't know what's going on. He goes out there and there's probably a little bit I'm just embarrassed. So you're dealing with all that. But it's like when he was a freshman, Jamal was a freshman, Tremont was a freshman. None of these guys got to play a lot because they were on a good team. Now, if you're on a bad team, sign with one. You'll get to play a lot more. So I'm gonna get off my stump now, but you guys understand where I'm coming from. So don't go overboard with Terrence is a little bit. No, Terrence is fine. Terrence is just fine. He is. The more mistakes he makes, the better it is for him. Go ahead and get him out, man. You're going to be good. Terrence is going to be so good. Emmanuel's going to be so good. Just like I kept saying last year, this one's going to be good. But nobody saw it. That's not your job. It's not your guys' job to see it. It's your guys to report what you see. You don't see him getting better in practice. Even when he wasn't getting to play last year, we were watching this. Remember Marcus? I mean, he was hooping in practice last year, but he was playing behind Josh Carlton. You want me to do? Take Josh out and put JVA in? He's not ready, but he's going to be ready. You know, this time next year, JVA is going to be hard to. He won't be starting the second half. He'll be starting the first half. But that's progression. That's development. They all have to develop.
Kelvin, would it help to take the option off the table in terms of the players that people say, okay, this guy's one and done, or are you in favor of maybe having somebody stay in school X number of years? I guess like they used to. I'm not sure when they changed, but just beyond a year. Would it help?
Yeah, I'm big on letting them go out of high school too. I think if it's at some point these kids are almost like independent contractors. When you're a high school kid, you're an independent contractor. You should be able to do what you want to do. Remember Monica Seles? I watch these young girls in golf. The Korda girl, I think her name is Nelly Korda. She didn't go to college. She was a pro at 15, pro at 16. If you can go out of high school, go ahead and go. But if you go to college, then I think all we're doing is gaming the system by saying you go in 1 year. If you go in 1 year, that's 9 months. You know, they're not going to finish the second semester. You know, kid comes in June because he has to. So as soon as the last game ends, let's say we get beat in the Sweet 16 on a Saturday. Well, Final Four. Okay, somebody else, not us. Somebody else. Sweet 16. Okay, the game's on Saturday. You know what those kids are going to do on Monday? All of them. You know what they all do on Monday? They withdraw from classes. Well, they should graduate. They will eventually. Armani Brooks is working on his classes. We talked to Tanya and Quentin. They'll graduate. But kids that are graduating from college, the average starting salary is what? 50, 70,000, whatever. Well, these guys are going to be making hundreds of thousands. Graduate for what? You know, they'll graduate eventually. But they got a chance to make a lot of money here pretty fast. When do you graduate, Marcus and May? May. Marcus will graduate in May. Dejan all our guys graduate. All our guys that stay 4 years, our graduation rate is almost 100%. Now, the ones that go early, like Nate Hinton and Armani, they'll come back and get their degrees. You know, I've always been in favor of the 1 year is kind of I never understood that one. It's not a year, it's 9 months. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So in the 10th month, they're done. They're not going to finish the semester. Now they'll withdraw so they don't have Fs. So they'll have Ws, so they can come back and work on those classes. But they'll hire an agent. They'll go somewhere and work out. You know, I've had a bunch of first-round draft choices and second-round guys. I know what they do. Hire an agent, and they go work out, get ready for the combine. Then they get ready for the draft. That's what they do, because now that becomes their job. That's what they do for a living. They didn't go to college. The kids that are going to be pros, they don't go to college to graduate. They go to college because the NCAA say you have to. You got to go 1 year. That's the only reason they go for 1 year. So my point is, let them go out of high school. What are we're making a mockery of the academic portion of it, right?
I have time for one more question if anybody got it. Go ahead, Chris.
Marcus, how much more comfortable were you tonight? And, you know, was that good, you know, sort of get going a little and, you know?
It was great to, you know, see the ball go through the goal. But, you know, my main focus going into this game is really just playing hard and trying to rebound and impact the game in different ways, you know. Haven't been shooting it well, so, you know, that wasn't really my main focus going into this game. But just went out there and played hard, and good things happened. The ball started going through the goal, so that's it, really.
Coach, Marcus.